I don't remember their names. Finn. Why do I keep calling him Finn? Oh my god, boobs. Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. I am back for another What I Read episode where I share all the books that I finished in a particular week. This week is April 28th through May 4th, so get your comfy sexy on. You can't tell, maybe, but this is a nightgown and this is a sweater. I can't decide if I want my hands covered for comfort or if that would be too much of a problem with how much gesticulation I do. Grab your emotional support beverage of choice and get ready for what I read. The first book I finished was The Love Haters by Katherine. I got this as an ARC. It is out now. I did not like this book. I've read Katherine before. I liked The Bodyguard. I enjoyed the rom-commers. This book felt less like a romance and more like women's fiction. While the romantic storyline in this book follows Katie and Hutch, it really felt like the story was Katie learning to love herself, which isn't bad. That's not a bad lesson to have, but it didn't feel like a romance. We could eliminate Hutch and her romance with him, and they could have just been friends, co-workers, anything else. And the real meat of the story would still be Katie's relationship to herself and specifically to her body. This review contains mentions of eating disorders because it's alluded to very heavily in the book. So if that's something that you're sensitive to, just fast forward until you see the next book come on up. One of the most frustrating things for me in regards to Katie and her journey is that nothing about her problems is laid out plainly. She has an eating disorder. She talks about it. She talks about her bad relationship with food and the habits that she had around food and her body. That is clearly an eating disorder or disordered eating at the very least. And the fact that she went from starving herself to totally fine-ish isn't possible. You need medical help. It's a disease. And the fact that it was handled so throwaway from I was starving myself because of what I read online about my body to once I broke up with him, I started to eat again. It felt so unhealthy to me. She makes no mention of a therapist. She makes no mention of work being done on her eating disorder. It's just through this life experience that she becomes better. And when you're dealing with such severe habits around eating, I don't think tackling them by yourself is the right way to handle it. You should seek professional help because this is not something to joke about. And while Katie might be eating more normally now, she could have done real damage to her body in the months or even a year where she was starving herself. We don't know, and that's not addressed by a medical professional. Katie is a filmmaker, specifically documentary. She works for a small production company that is going through layoffs. Also, the production company and that whole situation was weird and vaguely creepy. Her supervisor-ish gives her an assignment to create a promotional video for the Coast Guard by following along this pseudo-famous member of the Coast Guard who got famous by saving Jennifer Aniston's dog. Yes, that is a plot point that they reference quite often. What her supervisor neglects to tell her is this Coast Guard guy is actually his brother, and there's a lot of family drama. So Katie shows up down in Florida to film Hutch, the Coast Guard guy, and Hutch expects his brother. It causes quite a bit of tension. Katie's also staying with their aunt. So she's staying with their aunt, she's filming Hutch, and Katie doesn't know how to swim. She, in fact, lies about knowing how to swim because part of the insurance requirements for doing the things that they want to do for this promo, like going up in the helicopter to watch rescues or fake rescues or real rescues, whatever, is you have to pass these swimming tests. And Katie can't swim. She reveals this to the aunt who says, I've got a perfect teacher for you. Of course, it's Hutch. So their first meeting, well, not technically their first meeting happened in the aunt's store where Hutch is absolutely smitten with her. You can tell right away. But the second meeting is at the pool where he discovers that she can't swim. And then that's glossed over. He just says, I'll teach you how to swim and it will be fine. And it is fine. Pretty big deal. You don't know how to swim. And you have to be able to be flipped upside down in a fake helicopter to be safe. The other thing about it is her supervisor describes Hutch as so grumpy and so unwilling to talk and so unpleasant, solely focused on his work. And all of the women that his aunt knows, who are all these old women she's kind of collected and live in this little community, also describe him as very quiet, not speaking. And yet we only see Hutch with Katie very interactive, very willing to talk, very funny, and very flirty. So that guy that we were described, that I was expecting to meet, we never meet. It's not even like his shell has to crack after a time with Katie. It shatters the minute he meets her, which felt a little disingenuous. Okay, if you're gonna set up this character as a grump, as very rigid and by the book, I want to meet that person. There's got to be a reason we're calling him that, okay? You don't get to just present me with a big fluff ball of adorableness and expect me to believe you're writing. Furthermore, things get messy when Supervisor shows up with the owner of the production company who he said wants to seduce Hutch, and it turns out Supervisor lied and said he's dating Katie. So then Hutch thinks his brother is dating Katie, and Katie lied to him about dating, and Katie just goes with it. It was so unnecessarily messy, and it ends with a hurricane coming to Florida. They're in the Keys. Hutch has this massive Great Dane. Hutch is already rescuing people. They can't get the Great Dane to get off his houseboat. Yes, Hutch lives on a houseboat. So Katie turns around and instead of leaving the Keys, goes to the houseboat to get the dog, ends up getting a lightning something loosens the boat from being moored, and she's just floating in the ocean during a fucking storm. And then gets saved, of course, by Hutch. It was odd. It was odd, and I didn't enjoy it. It in fact made me like things of hers less. This story has zero spice. There was almost no romance. I can't fault you for that. Katherine Center is a low to zero spice author, and I think I might be done. I don't have a finished copy, also because they always come out in hardcover, and I refuse to get them. But here are my notes. I don't even know if I commented on anything. This dog gives me head over heel vibes. If you've never seen that movie with Monica Potter and Freddie Prinze Jr., you should. It hasn't aged as well as other early 2000s movies, but it was great. That is literally the only commentary I made on the entire book. Next! The next book I read was The Rebel King by Gina L. Maxwell. I read The Dark King years ago, and it was one of my favorite examples of kink in a romance novel at that time, and stayed that way for years. This is the second book. At the end of the first book, I'm going to ruin some things for you. The current king, the eldest brother of these three brothers, who this trilogy is about, abdicates in order to protect himself because a curse has been unleashed on him and his mate. And so the second brother, Tiernan, is now about to be king. He has been the spare, and for Faye, since they rarely die and live forever, he really was the spare. There was almost no chance he was going to be king. So he's leaned heavily into his fuckboy ways. He has been called the rebel prince. He deals with humans, which some of the Fae community look down on, and it's because he never had the expectations of ruling on his shoulders. In the first book, we watch as Tiernan and Fiona, another Fae who works at the house of the royalty or the royal family, engage in a pseudo-secret tryst. They come out of closets, they're clearly secretly fucking, and that has to stop when Tiernan is named king, because Fiona is a low-born, and Tiernan can't marry her or be with her, certainly not a relationship with her. And that's really hard. The two of them are suffering. They're heartbroken. They understand it, but they hate it. And it's caused a lot of emotional distress. In this book, there's a big bad plot of someone or someone's is murdering Fae, which terrifies the community. Fae are really hard to kill. So the fact that someone can identify Fae and they are actually using the correct weapons in order to kill Fae is very worrisome. You've also got the general faith of the community in Tiernan. They don't know him as a leader. They haven't seen him lead. He's never had to. He just has He was the rebel prince. There's this committee of lords who, because they're in this weird limbo of post-abdication but pre-coronation, have a lot more power than lords typically do in this monarchy. And they are flexing their power and being dicks and trying to get Tiernan to do whatever they want. And it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not great. Old white dudes, old men of any kind, really don't deserve power. It's not a fun time. So there's that side plot of the political machinations, and then Tiernan and Fiona being drawn to one another and pulling away, and drawn to one another and pulling away. Fiona on her own discovers some things about herself, who she is, her lineage, and it's really hard for her. It's a really hard realization. It ties deeply into the story of the first book, so you do have to read these books in order. As the story progresses, Fiona decides to help Tiernan capture or catfish or trick the people they suspect as being behind the killings and be a spy for Tiernan, to infiltrate this strip club that they own and spy on the people coming in and the people working for them. This is very distressing to Tiernan because Fiona's going into danger, and we can see the connection and the affection that they have for one another throughout this book. They really love each other. In the end, it all works out. We figure out who the big bad is. Plot setup for the third book was about the third brother. We don't engage in as much kink as I thought we would in this book, considering how much was in the first book. Tiernan has a history of a scene going wrong, and he carries that baggage with him too. So there's really good conversations around kink in this book, even though there isn't as much kink in the book as there was in book one. This is a unique take on Fae, specifically this world, how they got there, what's going on with them. I love seeing how an author brings paranormal creatures into their world and makes it unique for them. With how much I loved book one and enjoyed book two, you know I'm gonna go with book three as well. Things that I highlighted. Oh, there's a Henley. I do love an olive green Henley. Fiona is queer. She has dated people of all genders. I don't want to erase her queerness. This is Tiernan. The fact that there's not a single female head of family in the bunch proves what a group of antiquated assholes they are. You're not wrong, sir. When Fiona's lineage is revealed, my note was, what? Pandemic is mentioned in here, which I think at first was a no-no in the publishing world, but I love how authors are just saying, I'm going to mention it because you can't have a modern story without mentioning that there was a pandemic in the world. Anya came to terms with the reality that fighting the humans in the hope of restoring peace was futile, and my note is, humans are dumb. This is one of my favorite little micro tropes. Is this all for me? If you don't know what I'm talking about, send me a DM and I will answer that. My note is so many red flags. So not only does she infiltrate the strip club, but it turns out there's a secret BDSM club under the strip club that is really where everything's happening. And so Fiona gets herself added to like the list of girls who will professionally, I think in her case it's sub. And Leon is part of this. It's so gross. She calls him sir, which you haven't agreed on an honorific. But my note is so many red flags. A slow grin slips onto Leon's face, obviously pleased with my use of an honorific title with him, even though he hasn't done anything to earn it. You need to earn your honorific, friends. You don't automatically get an honorific just because you're topping someone or just because you're the dom in a scene. I love this. So they do scene and Tiernan is not well afterwards, and she observes, I think he's experiencing dom drop. And this is your reminder that if you only think sub drop is a thing, it's not. Aftercare is needed for doms, for tops as well, and they can experience drop. It's not just a sub thing. Oh, and this is him telling the story, and I went, ugh! The sub lied about her experience and like kept saying green when she really wasn't. Like, pride is not okay. You gotta let go of your pride if you're gonna play. Rolling me onto her back after some impact. There's a good girl. This is my prediction about who I want book 3 to be about. It isn't, but I wish it were. This is funny. Laying on the sarcasm, I give him a droll look. Awesome. We're finally at the villain monologue portion of our show. Oh, and there are werewolves. We learned there's werewolves and voodoo also in this world. This was a nope for me. Pitching my voice lower into my dom register. There is no dom register. That's not a thing. This tells you a lot about me. My note is, I know I'm ovulating, but damn. And that's it. The next book is Divine Interventions by R.M. Virtues. And while I have a physical copy, I read an e-copy of this book because this one's really pretty. There's some inappropriate artwork that I cannot show you, but it is on my Substack. Is in my Substack in the membership. That was our bonus episode in May. And this is part of the Black Rose auction special editions that I got last year. For the one thing I will say about these is Katie Robert did a really great job with Wicked Pursuit about telling her audience where they came from or where this falls in her general world. I wish that every story had a little blurb from the author saying if this was connected to other stories, and if so, how. Because I kind of feel like it could be connected to something, but I don't know. And I feel that way with some of the other ones that I've read too. This book is about Tlalli, primarily Kahuani, and Elias. In this story, there are angels and demons. There's also ancestral magic based out of Mexico and that region. If you have a thing about angels and demons being villains or heroes, I might skip this one, which is why I think it might connect to a bigger world, because this is a very complex ideology and world system, and I feel like this just touched on it, but it must be out there somewhere else. Like with the rest of these stories, something is going to be at the Black Rose auction. Tlalli is an angel. She connected with her angelic side. She wasn't born an angel, but she decided to become one. And she is basically a second-class citizen in the angel world. She is sent on missions. She's not treated fairly. A previous task for the angels was to seduce Kahuani's son in order to steal something from him, which she does. Brings the son back to the angels, who make him one of them. He changes his name. They make him hierarchically above her and basically gift her to him. She hates it. He keeps trying to assault her. It's not a good situation. So she's been sent to steal this thing from the Black Rose auction with the son and Elias, who is an ancient angel who's become pretty jaded to the fact that the missions that are going on feel more self-serving to the leaders of the angels than to actual humanity. Kahuani is a magical practitioner, and he works with the demons. Now, there's no really good or evil. There are angels, there are demons. They kind of just are. And that's something that might be very offensive to people. I get that. Kahuani and two other demons are sent to retrieve this artifact, which is in fact a demon artifact. It's not an angelic artifact. While there, Tlalli is really frustrated. She's under the sun's thumb. She hates it. And she decides to seek freedom by throwing herself at Kahuani and say, can you get me out of here? I don't want to be with the angels anymore. I don't want to work with them. I think that they are the wrong people to support. And she does this by giving her body to Kahuani, who she's had a crush on. Like, they had a really nice connection when she was living in his house, seducing his son. Elias also is feeling very jaded and isn't necessarily looking for a way out, but is reckoning with his own attraction to Tlalli as well as Kahuani. And my only complaint is the inappropriate artwork that I got was clearly a threesome, and it happened so late in the fucking book. First, it's Kahuani and Tlalli who are trying to figure out how they can steal the artifact before the rest of Tlalli's party figures it out, how they can escape with it, what are they going to do so that they succeed in their endeavor, and how do they get Tlalli out so that she isn't taken back to the angels and then punished. And it's very successful. It's a very short story. These are short. Less than 300 pages. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, just 204 pages. So it's very quick, very fast. But there's a lot of heart and there's quite a bit of spice. In terms of would I recommend it, I don't know if you have to go get any of these stories. The one that seems the most on its own so far, I've read 4 of them, is Sarah Kate's Shattered Innocence. That seems the most separate from any series, the one that you could go into most blind. Katie Roberts is absolutely connected. Nana Malone's feels like it was connected as well. So I might do a little bit more research on what's going on before you feel the need. I think they're all on KU. The rest of the books are going to be printed eventually in trad, but I have mine through the Kickstarter. So if you have KU and you're looking for a book that's 200 pages, all of these fit the bill and you can read them. They are queer, they're people of color. You've got lots of options. So Tlalli was also her heritage of the ancient sorcerers native to the land that settlers now call Mexico. This is also based on Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And so she calls Kahuani Papa Bear. And there are a bunch of moments where he says something like, is that too hard? No, Papa Bear. Too soft? No, Papa Bear. It's just right. Weirdly hot. Kahuani has this ability. He's also one of the sorcerers of the area, and he can shift into a bear. That is one of his gifts. Elias has a round belly, which I love. So much of my highlighting is spice, friends. I don't think I can say these words out loud. I think there was a moment when I didn't follow when she was either unhanded, like he was holding her down. I'm like, when did he release her? And then at the end I have my yay MMF. Kahuani, I wasn't sure if Kahuani is trans. Kahuani let himself remember just how excited he was to be a father even before he transitioned. I don't understand. Finding out that transitional magic would allow him to procreate without the aid of Western medical practices had been the biggest blessing. Never once had he considered the possibility that his child will grow up to see his lineage as a curse. So there's the implied transition of potentially gender, but it's not stated, so I'm not sure. When she's saying that she wants to give herself to Kahuani, she says, I have a condition. She said instead, and what condition would that be? I want you to film it. It's so hot. I wasn't 100% sure of this. This is where I'm like, I don't know if I followed all of your sex, because another note of mine is 69. Is that what we're doing? Her nickname is Princess. Yeah, literally everything is intimacy. I can't read this out loud. Well, there we go. The next book I read is Savor It by Tara DeWitt. This is my first Tara DeWitt book. It's really cute. It's a very sweet, easy, well-written rom-com. It's small town, summer. One of my friends, Caitlin, is obsessed with this book. I totally understand it. These two people are very sweet together. It's Sage and Fisher. Sage lives in a small town. She's a teacher. She's a little bit quirky. She lives in her family home and has way too many weird pets, like a horse and geese, three-legged cat. It's just accumulates these high needs pets. Fisher was a chef in New York City. He had a bit of a meltdown, and the owner of the restaurant that he'd been working at sends him to Spoons, Oregon, which is where the story takes place, to help build and set up a restaurant there. They're not intending for him to run the restaurant, but he needs a break. He has had this breakdown. He has also been given guardianship over his niece. He was supposed to have guardianship, but he instead said, I can't handle it, and his parents have been raising their granddaughter. She's been running away, and finally Fisher takes guardianship of his niece, and the two of them head to Spoons for the summer. Fisher ends up renting the house next to Sage, and Sage is a good neighbor, and Fisher's hot. So they meet each other. She's kind. Sage helps his niece, Indy, get connected to other teens in the area, including Sage's nephew. It's very cute. And then they end up signing up for this competition that Spoons hosts every summer. They practice canoeing, and they have to learn trivia, and they spend this time together, and all sorts of stuff. Their connection grows, they flirt, they fake date a little bit because Sage's ex is now engaged to someone else just a year after they broke up, in order to make him a little bit jealous and get the town off her back and not feel like she's the charity case. They fake date. I think cute is the perfect way to describe this. It's not heavy. The stakes are very low. No one is in danger. No one's livelihood is really at stake with this relationship. Fisher's gone to Spoons to heal. Sage is a teacher. She's going to be a teacher. She just has the summer off. All of this feels very safe and cute. The two of them are fun. Fisher likes to cook and cook for her. Sage likes to eat and show him around. It was an easy read. I didn't highlight a ton because there wasn't a ton that I think really stood out to me as like, oh my God, the most amazing moment, cute and adorable. But at the end of this book, I had all the warm fuzzies in my chest and in my heart, which is sometimes exactly what you need from a book. There is a third act breakup, which is very understandable. Fisher is not meant to stay after the summer. He doesn't have a rental. He doesn't have a job. He's supposed to go back to New York with Indy, and he wants to go back to New York with Indy. He promised her stability, and he promised her New York. She'd been living in a small town with her grandparents, the same small town that Fisher grew up in, the same small town that her mom was in. And her mom had Indy when she was really young, 16, 17, and the town treated Indy's mom as though she were Hester Prynne, as though she had a scarlet letter. It was not a fun environment for Indy to grow up in, which is very different than in Spoons, where Sage's nephew was born to her brother and her best friend Wren when they were in high school. And the town has embraced that couple and really supported them. Indy and Fisher, while they both fear the small town life and the small town small-mindedness, they don't experience that in Spoons. They feel really welcomed and comforted and taken in by the community. And that is something that I wish we had. I wish small towns were like that all the time. I don't live in a small town. I live in the city of Chicago. I did not grow up in a small town. I grew up in the suburbs of New York. I can't speak to my knowledge about small town life, but I don't believe they are accepting generally as this story created Spoons to be. There's some fun history. It's a cute town, very kitschy, kind of Stars Hollow-y, which I have to give credit for as a millennial woman. I love Stars Hollow. It's got a deep place in my heart. She feels like the town really treats her with kid gloves. Her previous boyfriend, Ian Carver, deigned to be with me, the tragic, awkward orphan, the plain, homely girl who grew up to be a woman comfortable and happy in her own skin. Lucky me. Frankly, it all makes me feel like a fucking loser, and I am tired. I just want to know what it feels like to win, and I don't think I want too much. And I think we all have that of like, we feel like we just want to win. We don't want to be known for the most tragic part of our past. Sometimes the note is just about plot. So Ian is her ex-boyfriend. When Fisher and Indy get to the house in the middle of the night, after they've arrived, they're sleeping and they hear something crashing around on the first floor. And they don't know what's going on. They have no idea. They're so tired. They've been driving from New York to Spoons, Oregon, and they call the police and they think someone's breaking in, and it turns out to be the Roomba. But the police and the firemen show up, and Sage's brothers are firemen. Her ex, Ian, is a policeman. After hearing the commotion going on next door, Sage comes over to make sure everything's okay. And her brothers are chastising her for just showing up at a stranger's house. Ian says, "They're still right, Sagey," Carver adds. The way his voice changes with her reminds me of balloons rubbing together, and I hate it in a way that is immediate and bewildering. This is from Fisher's perspective. "You shouldn't just barge in here, even so. You had no way to know if it was safe or not." Both birdmen rapidly turn on him and say, "Shut up, Ian," in unison, the rebuke dripping with venom. Love that. The moment that I saw so clearly in my brain. Like, "We hate your ex-boyfriend. Shut up, Ian." I thought this was going to be a thing because Sage seems to enjoy cooking. I thought maybe she knew who he was and she was secretly obsessed with him, but that doesn't happen. I was wrong. Sage and Fisher run into Ian and his new fiance at the library, and it's honestly the first time that Sage has seen them together. She freaks out a little bit. And so Ian's suggestion is, and this is Ian's mind, "How do I put this in the least lecherous way possible, where she absolutely recognizes that I won't hold it against her if she declines, but also knows I'm willing and able? If I kiss you, they'll see." And my note is, "Sir!" They do kiss in the middle of the library, and they cause a little bit of a scandal. So they end up under the canoe, and the tension is tensioning. I just want. All I am is want. There are thoughts trying to rise in my mind, words I should say, and I know I'll need to reflect later, but maybe I can actually take my own advice and live fully in the present. He wants to. I can see it in that irresistible color high on his cheeks and in his expanding pupils. I can feel it in the way his treading rhythm gets unsteady and breaks. Maybe I could do something like this, I think. Maybe I can have a casual fling. We're already doing so much together as it is, already on our own team in this arrangement, and maybe this could just be an added perk. It's that moment under the canoe. I love it. It's a slow burn, if you couldn't tell. I don't think I can read all of this, but my note is, walk her through it! If you know, you know. Or talk her through it, I suppose. My note for this line is that's sad, but I love that she's able to say this. I've never had a relationship where I felt this safe to be curious and adventurous sexually before. I'm like, that's so sad that you've never had that, but also I'm glad you have it now. Fuck, he's perfect. No, it's worse because he's imperfect and honest about it, and he's deserving of so much love. Imperfect, but also perfect for each other. Oh, another talk her through it. Oh my God, this is such a hot moment. He's trying to compliment her and she's not taking the compliments really well. I think I can say this. I think I can say this out loud. No, he replied, gripping my chin. I already know your modesty is misplaced, he said. I just have a lot more nice things I'd like to say to you right now, and I think I'd like your mouth full while I say them. He smiled full out at the look in my eyes. Then you'll have to listen without brushing me off. Fisher, he comes to kneel before me. I'm in too deep, Sage, he rasps, voice thick. My head snaps back down. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm trying to do all the right things. I promised Indy and she has no one. I've let her down before and I think she needs someone to prioritize her and I'm sorry. This is about having to go back. I know we were supposed to accept the impermanence of this thing with you and me and enjoy it in the meantime, but I just keep digging in and now I'm drowning in you, Sage. His eyes are swimming with tears. Fisher, I say, the first tear escaping, more following each of my unsteady strokes along his face. It's too late for me. I've been too far dug, I confess. His trembling hand comes around to cradle the back of my neck. Just love me until then anyway, I say. Please. Like, they know. And I understand Fisher has promised Indy a life in New York. He promised her. He needs to fulfill that promise. And this is such an adult handling of relationships. I loved it. This, I swear to you, while I was reading this line, I sobbed. I can say it without sobbing now. It's been a privilege to fall in love with you, Sage. I sobbed in that moment. Don't judge me. It was really cute, well written. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I see why my friend loves this book. And I got an arc for the second one. So if you want to see what I thought about the second book, make sure that you like and subscribe so you can get notified when that video comes out. The last book that I read this week was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. And I will straight off the bat say it is not my favorite Emily Henry book. It's not my least favorite Emily Henry book, but my favorite Emily Henry book is still Book Lovers. The story of this book follows Alice and Hayden. Alice is a writer. She is a journalist primarily, and she wants to get into ghostwriting memoirs. It's something that she's passionate about. She believes that she has found this lost socialite who dropped off the face of the earth after scandal, and she is searching her out. She's been invited to this tiny town in Georgia to meet with her, supposedly. While down there, she discovers that Hayden, who is a well-established memoir writer, he helps write memoirs and autobiographies. And she doesn't necessarily want to ghostwrite. She wants to write the biography or the autobiography, is also down there. And what is presented to Alice and Hayden is that this socialite, this lost person whose name is, I literally didn't even know her name. I accidentally got a copy of the book. I don't like hardcovers and I always buy paperbacks, but I thought I was just buying a ticket to a virtual launch event and I did not realize I was getting a book. I don't want it. Margaret. It is Margaret. Margaret presents a competition that over the next month, The two of them can each interview her 3 days and 3 days each week. And at the end of the month, she will decide who will be writing the autobiography or the biography with her. Hayden and Alice have to work together to figure out a schedule, to determine what's going to happen. This is where I think I got lost, is this book leaned so heavily into the grumpy sunshine. Hayden being the grump, Alice being sunshine, that it felt like a caricature until they finally got together. But I didn't enjoy the caricature for that long. I was kind of over it really fast. One of my favorite things about this book is actually Margaret's story and the way that those chapters were interspersed. If you read Real by Kennedy Ryan, you might remember that you have the story of the romance interspersed with scenes from the movie that they were making about Desi Blue. It's the same thing here, where you have the story of the romance interspersed with chapters from the book that is theoretically being written. And the way that the book is presented is the rumor or the opinion of the press versus what the reality from Margaret's perspective was. And I thought that was a really well done way to both showcase how she was treated by the press and to share her story honestly with us, the readers. Hayden and Alice fall for each other. They spend time together. They eat food together. Hayden falls so hard for her. He is so enraptured by her by the end of this story, and it is adorable to watch. It's also a fucking slow burn. Hayden's justification for why he's holding himself back is that he doesn't want to start something and have it break because of whatever's going to happen with Margaret. If he gets the job and it breaks Alice's heart, if he doesn't get the job and he's frustrated with Alice, he recognizes that the professional situation that they've been set up in is not conducive to a healthy start in a relationship. And I think that that's important. It's real. We'd all like to assume that things professionally wouldn't affect us personally, but that's not how it works. And if you're dealing with something like an autobiography or helping to write someone's memoir, you're going to be working on that project for potentially years. And so it's not just, a few short months. It's years of working with Margaret and writing the book and then editing the book and then publishing the book and promoting the book. And if you have any resentment lingering from who did or did not get the job, that can really put a toll on your relationship. So Hayden's reluctance to become intimate, to have things progress romantically with Alice is very understandable, and I think honestly very adult. The end of the book is a bit of a twist. There were things that I guessed correctly and things that I guessed incorrectly. I liked the book, but I think when you've got such high expectations from other books, or you've got so many other standalones the way that Emily Henry does, you're always going to put it into the hierarchy of, is this better than my favorite book? It's not better than my favorite book in my opinion, but I think it was a well done book. There are aspects to it that I really liked, and there are aspects that I could have lived without. Here are my notes. Leaning into the grumpy sunshine, Hayden. Are you always this perky? I let out a breath. This is too lengthy and important a job to kick things off with a lie. Yes, I say, yes, I am. Hayden's brow furrows, his arms sliding off the table. Why are you doing that? Doing what? Smiling, he says dryly. And my note is, grumpy sunshine. So this is one of my, incorrect things, that I thought Alice had someone in her past who had an act of self-harm, but it was someone with chronic illness having a health crisis. This is a funny line. He lifts one shoulder, my eye tracking the motion, my body impolitely informing me that I might have a shoulder fetish. It's well written, it's just not my favorite. I hadn't noticed how attractive he was before. I'm not totally sure what it is that makes him so. He's nowhere near symmetrical. His eyes are small and his mouth is wide, and his nose looks like it's been broken at least once and not properly set. I like that he's not described as classically handsome. This is a real person. You might be the least cynical person I've ever met. I'm not sure I've ever known anyone like you. I narrow my eyes. You mean I'm naive? No, Alice, he replies. If that's what I meant, then that's what I would have said. This was a description that felt wrong to me. You can't describe someone as both of these things. Shelley was dainty, bird-boned with auburn hair and lush lips that matched her lush hips. You don't get to be dainty and bird-boned and have lush hips. Those two don't go together in my brain. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. This is the longing fucking slow burn. Nothing happened. I'll remind myself later while I'm lying awake, eyes turned up to the stucco ceiling. It was just a hug. This is a clip from the memoir part that I think might speak to mothers who also have a career they are passionate about. Bernie is Margaret's mother. Bernie missed directing, missed being at the studio every single day. But she also missed her daughter every time she fell asleep. She wondered how she would survive having her soul split like that. Tell me if I'm wrong. This is a quote. For the one you love, like what should you do? For the one you love, anything. You unmake the world and build a new one. You do anything to give them what they need. A cute description of her feelings for Hayden. I can't remember the last time I had a crush like this. Not one that merely aches, the way I felt about Theo the first few months. That painful yet addictive feeling of wanting someone that is being very intentionally withheld from you. Oh, she says something rude. My note is, don't be a bitch. You're right, I cry. I am smarter than this. I should have known better than to take a man I barely know to my home. But I guess it's like you said, I was just lying to myself, pretending you were someone else. I don't remember what this is in reference to, but the line is, I prefer that version of the world, I say, smiling up at him. His arms ring my waist, his nose scraping along mine. You do? I nod, the movement gliding our lips briefly across each other. It's yours, he offers. I laugh. Oh, I can have the world? Mine, he says. Yeah, you can have mine. And then the last line that I highlighted, that isn't just a guess on plot stuff, the terror of what happens if you ask for something someone's not able to give you. That's a real fear. And that is everything that I read from April 28th through May 4th. Make sure you're following along to get updates when I post the next videos. And until next time, this is Jace, holding space for you. I'm done.